So I say, oh, I'm learning to be the light.
This is the first unit, first lesson in Unit 4. Unit 4 will be all about solving equations. So now that we know how to use integers, we are actually going to start solving equations. But before we can do that, we need to learn some of the skills necessary to solve an equation. And the first one of those would be using the distributive property. Now, I know you guys have used the distributive property, or should have used the distributive property last year in 5th grade. But we're going to apply that with variables in this lesson. So not only are we going to review how to use the distributive property, but we are also going to use variables within this and how to rewrite expressions multiplying a sum or a difference by a single number. So go ahead and copy down that definition of the distributive property, which is to multiply a number by a sum or difference. You multiply each number inside the parentheses by the number outside the parentheses. And again, we'll take a look at a few examples of that here in a minute, but just make sure you get that definition copied down before we move on. The examples I have for now are all just numbers. We don't have any variables in there yet. However, we are going to go ahead and practice these simply just so everyone's on the same page. Remember that with the distributive property, what you want to do is take this number that's outside and multiply it by each thing on the inside. So what you would do is you would take it, for instance, we're going to use the word distribute. You have 2 times 6, keep the addition sign, and then 2 times 4. So you want to think about it as you're evenly distributing something across several different objects. And so for this instance, it's evenly distributing a multiplication across several different numbers. And then you could rewrite that and say that it's going to be 12 plus 8, which would give us 20. So again, let's go ahead and take a look at a different example. Now this time the number that we're distributing is at the end. That's okay. We're still distributing the 4 to the 6 and the 4 to the 3. So we have 6 times 4 plus 3 times 4. That would give us 24 plus 12, which is 36. So go ahead and try the last two, keeping in mind that that should be letter D, not letter C again. That letter D has a negative out front, and so you are going to be distributing a negative sign. But take a look at those, and then we'll go over those here in a second. So taking a look at the first one, we have 4 times 2. And then you keep this sign, so it would be minus, and then we have 4 times 9. So even though the 4 is positive, you want to keep the sign that's there and follow through. So we end up with 8 minus 36, which will give us a negative 28. Then for that last one, you distribute a negative 5. So you have negative 5 times 8 plus a negative 5 times 7. So it's negative 40 plus a negative 35, which gives us a negative 75. So now that may be a little hard for you to see down there. Give me a second to zoom out the camera if I need to. Just a little bit, so you can see that bottom row. Alright, I'm going to come back over here and we're going to do a different example. We're going to do an example now where we use variables. So for instance, if I had 5 times x plus 4. to do it this way, you're going to do the same thing we were doing before. However, we have a variable, so we can't actually find the answer. So again, you take the 5 and you're going to multiply it by both things. So 5 times x plus 5 times 4. Now 5 times x is just 5x. We don't know what that is, but it's just 5x plus 5 times 4 is 20. And that's where that one is going to stay, because we don't know the value of x, and we can't add these because there's an unknown value here. So those have to stay separate. Taking a look at another example, if we had negative 7 times y plus 12. Again, distributing that, you'd have negative 7 times y, and then a negative 7 times 12. So negative 7 times y plus negative 7 times 12. So this would just be negative 7y plus a negative 84. And you can leave it like that, or you can change this to make it say negative 7y minus 84. Both of those are saying the exact same thing. And so that's how to do the distributive property using variables. It is exactly like using numbers. The only difference is that we have to leave it in terms of a variable because we don't know what that variable represents. Eventually we'll get to that point, and we'll get to the point where we're solving and trying to figure out what the variable represents. For now, we're unsure of that. Alright, let me give you a few more to try on your own. So example 3, letter A, we'll have 4 times y plus 2. B is going to be 2 times 6 plus z. And C will be 9 times 1 plus x. And now we can also do this when there's subtraction in the middle. Call this example number 4. 3 times 9 minus y. Negative 3 times y minus 2. And then C will be negative 1 times z plus 10. So go ahead and take a few minutes and solve or rewrite those. And then I will go ahead and start adding in some answers to that after I give you a minute or two. So there's the first 3 answers. Now I'm going to go through and do example number 4. Alright, and there are all 6 of those answers. So again, give yourself some time. If you don't have time to complete it, keep working on it, finish those, and then check your work to see if you got all of those correct.